Hey, I'm Rachel. Welcome back to Auxhart Gardening. Today we are doing another garden tour, and it is March 1st, which means it is officially less than 3 weeks until the first day of spring. I've got my sunshine shirt on today. It's still just like a touch chilly in the air, but we are getting highs in the 70s this week, and I think I saw 81 on the forecast for one of these days, so getting crazy warm all of a sudden. I'm not gonna let it fool me, because last year and in many years before this has happened, and then come around April when it's feeling like it's gonna stay warm, there's gonna be one last frosty night. So I've got to be patient, not put things out too early. I have been doing a little bit of work in the garden and planting some new stuff, and today we are also planting some new stuff together, and I can't wait to show you guys. Alright, so here on the end where we always start, we have the row of fava beans and onions over here, and the kind of messy row of weeds and sometimes spinach and lettuce. The fava beans, the ones that are still here, I think are not really at risk of dying because minor freezes don't really bother them. I think it was really only when it got into the 20s that it was really bad for them. And so what I did was yesterday I actually put in some brand new fava seeds in all of the gaps, because the ones that haven't come back, it's very clear that they are not going to come back. And I'm really curious to see how fava beans are going to do for me in the spring season, because I obviously planted them way too late in the fall. I'm expecting that any time now my spinach and lettuces will start taking off because of the warmth and the ever-increasing sunlight. For now they are still growing a little slowly, but looking really good. Through all of this season, I have actually not managed to have a single salad from my own garden, which is a little disappointing, but next year we will be better prepared. Every time I come through the garden now, I'm pulling a few weeds here and there. I'm not trying to make a big effort to get every single one of them out. But I'm just kind of getting some of the bigger ones out and the ones that are directly around stuff that I'm growing so that they don't really compete. I'll be putting down fresh layers of compost and mulch in the garden when I start amending it for summer, and a lot of this will get taken care of then, but gotta stay on top of it. Also, quick note, I don't know if any of you have ever done gel nail polish. I know I used to avoid polish on my nails because of the garden, but my friends convinced me to try it, and after an entire week of digging in the garden, this is the one chip that I have. I swear I stick my fingers in the dirt and rummage around getting all these weeds almost every day, and the nails are holding up. So if you like to have your nails painted but hate how nail polish chips, gel polish seems to be the way to go. So right here along the edge of the garden where this cardboard is, these dead plants are just to hold it down. I have planted carrot seeds. Back at my old place, I used to start carrots in February, and that seemed to go pretty well. So I'm hoping if I stay more on top of keeping them moist, this time they might actually sprout. Y'all know I'm a little bit of a lazy gardener, so sometimes I don't always check on these things. But I gotta commit every day making sure that these stay very moist so that they sprout. With carrots, depending on the variety, it could take up to 2 weeks, sometimes even longer, for your carrots to sprout. In ideal conditions, you can expect at least a week, which is a very long time to wait on a seed to sprout if you're used to something like peppers and tomatoes, which will come up in just a few days. So of course next we're going to move on to the rows of brassicas, which have kind of become the rows of garlic and onions, because most of the brassicas did not do very well. This cabbage is maybe the best looking cabbage that I have, and it's still definitely not going to head up in time. Although, you know, these leaves are still edible, so at the end of the season I might just cut it and cook down the leaves, or at least the ones that look okay. But man, look at these chunky garlics. They look so healthy, so good. I'm going to have so much awesome garlic this season. These are the new plants that I transplanted out. The one that got dug up, still missing of course, and the rest of them are, you know, just trying to acclimate. I think something ate up this one's leaf, but I think it's starting to get its roots kind of, what is the word for it? Spread out, I guess. Ooh, do you see that spider right there? There's been a lot of these little black spiders in the garden. They're coming out. Anyways, so I can tell the leaves are starting to get more crisp, and it just feels like the plant has a better hold on where it's getting its water and nutrition. So I think now that these are getting over the transplant, they should, yeah, you can see, start making new little leaves, which is always a good sign of a healthy plant, is that it's making good looking fresh leaves. Down here where some of the other brassicas died, I did put in 2 more sections of carrot. They're not really rows, they're kind of like clumps, you know, because that's the space that I have. And hopefully some of these will sprout and we'll see some stuff. This broccoli surprised me the other day. I wasn't really expecting it to do much, and then lo and behold, here's a little baby head. Since it's so small, I think I might actually just let it go to seed, let it flower, so that you guys can see what that looks like. Because this is not a lot of food for me. This is 1 floret of broccoli, and it's way more valuable right now as a teaching tool more than anything else. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure that having brassicas flowering in your garden helps deter some pests. Here is our row of turnips. Oh, and here is a kale. Hi, sweetie. So, turnips. Turnips look great. I'll probably be pulling more from here as time goes on. But like with the broccoli, I think it would actually be pretty beneficial for me to leave some of these and let them go to seed for saving seed, for teaching purposes, and also for potential pest deterrence. I just found this one that was already starting to go to seed. You can actually see it looks a little bit like that broccoli floret, because this is what the broccoli flowers look like, right? So it would make sense that a brassica, you can see the root down here, would make a similar looking start to a flower. The more I look at these, the more I see that are going to flower, so I might actually pull some immediately and make those be the last ones that I pull. Sorry about the dogs. I think Kato was just aggravating them. So yeah, once a root vegetable goes to seed, it's technically still edible, but it's not going to be very tasty. It's going to get a little more bitter, and the texture isn't going to be very nice. So if you can catch it, like maybe right as it's starting, it's still probably going to be mostly good, which is what I'm going to go try and do with those. So one of the seeds that I transplanted out here, one of the plants, are these kaleidoscope kale from the Experimental Farm Network. And these actually look like they're doing pretty great. I am excited to see how well they do. So that kale is at the front of my trellises, and the peas on these trellises have actually sprouted. They've been kind of growing up a little slowly, but now that the weather's a little warmer for them instead of the cold of last time that I tried this, I think they're gonna do a lot better. So last week, you remember I mentioned I planted some radishes, and those are just now coming up. Radishes, I don't know if I mentioned already, are what we are planting today. they come to seed, sorry, they come to fruit, they come to root very quickly. Some of the quicker ones can be as soon as 20 something days from sprout to harvest size, which is crazy fast. If you are wanting a really big fast payoff, plant radishes. But because they're so fast, if you want to have a continuous harvest of them, you need to succession plant them, which means that you need to plant some now and some in 2 weeks, and then some more 2 weeks from then, and so on and so forth. So today we are planting some more radishes, not just for me to be able to get the harvest, but again, for those flowering brassicas kind of scattered around the garden. Those of you who watch every week will notice that my rutabaga patch is one short. The big one at the end I pulled and boiled and ate and mashed, and it was really, really tasty. And if the turnips are going to seed, I bet these will start going to seed soon. I don't see them trying just yet, so now might be a good time to pull them out, even if they're not really fully rooted up. Probably a good idea. So how are the Brussels sprouts doing? I actually haven't looked that hard at them lately, but I just looked at this one that was kind of flopping over, and I think I should have Brussels sprouts for dinner. What do y'all think? They're not the tightest little heads, but they're probably still very edible. And actually, if you didn't know, the tender leaves up here also quite edible off of Brussels sprouts. So even if you don't want to wait for your sprouts, or you're having trouble like me, there's still a bit of a harvest here at the top. If y'all remember, back when I was putting in the berry patch, I had just like a couple of wheelbarrows worth of extra compost from that, and I decided to spread them out on the garden. They weren't going to go very far, so this back corner of Brussels sprouts is what got them. And at first I didn't think that it was going to make that much of a difference, but those Brussels sprouts are definitely the ones that are producing now, whereas the ones more over here on the end towards the stairs are a little bit smaller. They're still producing, but they just don't look quite as nice as the ones that got the little extra boost of compost. Here's another one of those transplanted lettuces, and you can see some of the leaves I already had. These bigger ones are a little floppy, not looking so great, but like I've said before, these new leaves in the middle looking crisp and healthy, that's what you want to look for, and that's how you know that your plant is going to be okay. Here's one of these Brussels sprouts, by the way, on the other end for comparison. Still producing, but not quite as much. Kata got herself up in that tree. That's kind of new. Hope she can get down. And good boy Draco is on the ground. He's an old man. He hasn't climbed nearly as many trees. I've also got a little update on the swale for you guys. I have, as predicted, collected more rocks from the garden to put in the bottom here. I'm sure there will be more. And the other day I was at the store and I saw these iris bulbs on sale, and so I just bought a bag of 40 iris bulbs and I put them in the mound here running along the top of the swale, because I thought that might be kind of nice. Additionally, the swale is functioning as intended. I will put a picture in here for you guys so you can see it holding some of the water, but basically I haven't had any issues with the water runoff through the garden since I put this in. I also wanted to show you guys this. I think it's a little cool. When I dig in my garden, I find bits of these black rocks, and they are not actually rocks. They are bits of coal, because I live in a really old mill town, and I don't think they were mining coal here. I think they just used a lot of it. There's all sorts of other trash in my yard, but I think it's really cool that I'm just finding bits of coal. Maybe I'll collect them all in a bucket and see how much I have. I'm not gonna like burn it or use it or anything, because what am I gonna do with like a couple scraps of coal? But I mean, it's kind of neat. Now we're gonna check in on the raised bed. I wanted to show you guys all these weeds growing up around it. I think a lot of people would immediately weed whack these down, but these have flowers, and these are the like few flowers available in the area for any bees that are waking up. I saw a bee at Krista's house the other day, and I want the bees to know that my garden is a place they can come for flowers. And so until I have other flowering things, weeds like this are gonna stay. As far as everything else in the raised bed, looking pretty good. I'm getting a little nervous about my cilantro going to seed now that I've seen those other plants going to seed. Cilantro just does not handle heat very well. I might not actually have very much of it before it goes to seed, but everything else should start waking up and growing again. Things like the thyme and the oregano have been kind of just existing, not really growing all winter, and now that it's going to warm up, they're going to start taking off. Right, and that is all I have for you today. Me and Draco wish you very happy gardening. Until next time.